Imagine being strong enough to fold most of the Jonin in your village and then getting stuck with a Genin title on paper. Naruto's world, it loves flashy promotions, but some shinobi, they slip through the cracks like the absolute monsters that are hiding in plain sight. This video is going to be about the 10 strongest Genin who never got that Jonin promotion. Honestly, the paperwork might be the only thing that they couldn't defeat in some of these cases, because when your resume includes feats that break all the power scaling, the rank system starts to look more like a suggestion and not an absolute rule. So join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, is going to be talking to you about the shinobi who prove that titles mean absolutely nothing, because when you're built like a final boss for 99% of the ninja world, what's a title to somebody like you? Also, if this video can hit 1,000 likes within a week of going public on YouTube, I'll make another video breaking down every character who was strong enough to be in that Jonin tier but never achieved the ranking. So make sure to hit the like button and share this video. So Naruto's ranking system was truly meant to represent growth. Genin to Chunin to Jonin, and if you're lucky, you become a Kage one day. It's a clear path of progression, but the more that you actually look at it, the more it truly falls apart, because somehow some of the most broken, overpowered, in some cases beyond god tier characters in the history of Naruto, they never made the rank of Jonin, not because they weren't strong enough, but because the system itself either failed them, ignored them, or just straight up couldn't keep up. And the deeper you go into this list, the worse that it gets. So starting things off, we're going to look at the most disrespectful use of this entire franchise. Boruto Uzumaki. Genin. Let that sink in for a second. This is somebody who, after a 3-year time skip, went from a talented kid to something that honestly feels more like a Otsutsuki level anomaly. Under Sasuke, he mastered everything that didn't require a Sharingan: swordsmanship, chakra control. He polished up his changing chakra nature releases. He became a polished elite shinobi, all under 1 year time. And then Kashin Koji broke that system completely. By using 10 directions, Boruto was basically trained across multiple timelines, learning stuff that one version of Boruto spent 6 years in order to learn, which was the Flying Raijin. Boruto in our timeline, he did it in only months. That's not talent. That's cheating the rules of reality. When you factor in a scaling, Jigen, somebody who casually folded Naruto and Sasuke with only 5 combined hits between the two of them in the manga, he sits near the top of the versus power hierarchy before the current arc of the story that we have, which was the Two Blue Vortex story arc. Code scales above that, but Boruto dodged Code easily. No panic, no struggle, just clean controlled movement, and he takes him down effortlessly with a watered down version of his power. He wasn't even trying. And that brings me to Uzuhiko Rasengan. It's a jutsu that doesn't just hit hard, it manipulates planetary momentum itself. That's not just ninjutsu anymore. That is physics being weaponized. And the craziest part, all of this was done without the Karma Seal. No Momoshiki takeover, no external boost, just Boruto being the byproduct of Kashin Koji and Sasuke training him. Now add in the fact that Boruto can currently use karma freely now, you're looking at somebody who's operating at a completely different tier of existence. He can use Momoshiki's power without any issues. He can use the Byakugan now, and he's using it very nicely. He's using the super giant Rasengan with absolute ease. So why is he still a Genin, you might be asking? It's because the world literally thinks that he killed Naruto. Omnipotence rewrote reality. Kawaki told that lie. Boruto wasn't just unpromoted. He's now a rogue ninja that's being hunted by the very village he wants to protect. At this point, the ranking system didn't fail him. Reality did. But calling him a Genin, that's not a rank. That's just flat out misinformation when we're talking about his strength level. Now, with Kawaki, this gets even worse. If Boruto is the anomaly, then Kawaki is the weapon. Genetically rewritten into an Otsutsuki vessel, Kawaki isn't just strong, he's engineered to dominate. We're talking about somebody who can absorb ninjutsu, he can open up space-time portals, he can shrink anything instantly with the Sukuna Hikona, he can shrink himself down to 1 inch in size. The only thing he can't shrink are living objects, but he can store living objects and other people inside of the timeless dimension that is known as has the Daikokuden, and he can summon things out of there instantaneously. That alone by itself puts him in a god tier territory. But when you add in his body, it's something absolutely insane, because Kawaki is not a human being in the traditional sense. He was born a human, yes, but he is a cyborg. He is a living scientific ninja tool. Every cell in his body is a ninja tech tool. His body is able to adapt and regenerate to certain degrees. It can also weaponize itself in mid-combat. He's able to turn his limbs into blades, and he can fire off energy blasts using his ninja tech, and it can reshape itself on command. But then when Amato removes his limiters, he can contend with threat levels like a suppressed Jura. When you think about how strong Jura is and the fact that Kawaki's not hit his power ceiling yet, that's in-game level scaling potentially. Yet officially, his rank, it is absolutely unclear. But at the bare minimum, he should be treated as a Genin, and that makes even more sense given that Kawaki has shown no real interest in the manga of being a shinobi anyway, and he may very well be just wearing Boruto's original headband for a deeper symbolic meaning that is worthy of its own video, which I will definitely do later. Now, that's insane when you consider that nobody in Konoha, not even Naruto at one point, could confidently stop him. Damon, taking him out the equation just because Damon, I don't really consider him a citizen of Konoha, but you might be asking why wasn't he ever promoted? It's because Kawaki isn't a shinobi in a traditional sense, even though he's technically acting like one in the story. Kawaki's a tool, but he's also a wolf in sheep's clothing. Everyone in Konoha thinks he's Naruto's child when he isn't. Kawaki is a weapon that is pointed at whatever threat comes next, at whatever threat that he deems as something that can harm Naruto. And the shinobi system itself, not promoting somebody like Kawaki, ironically shows exactly why the shinobi system itself works. But at the same time, the shinobi system can wrongfully punish people like Sarada Uchiha. So in the case of Sarada, it gets very interesting because Sarada is what the shinobi world should reward. Elite intelligence, leadership, versatility, power, a drive to become someone strong enough to lead the village one day, and someone who is directly an inheritance of Naruto's will of fire. And yet, she's still a Genin in the manga. Let's break that down, because you might be in disbelief if you're an anime-only fan. She has perfect academy scores. She has Chunin level leadership acknowledged by Shikamaru in the anime. She even got promoted to Chunin in the anime, which is why some of you guys might be confused. She has mastery of multiple changing chakra nature releases. If we consider the anime, she knows basic medical ninjutsu. She also can use Chidori at high level execution, and she also has this thing called the Mangekyo Sharingan. And in particular, she has Ohirume, one of the most broken Mangekyo Sharingan abilities. That's a gravitational ability that allows her to manipulate attraction forces, pull targets in, crush them, and create implosions capable of wiping out dozens of enemies that are in her eyesight. By using the spears that she has, she can reach a confirmed Otsutsuki level flight speed if she wants to. Granted, it'll burn her eyes out quickly if she does it, but she can do it. That's not just being strong, that is battlefield control on a massive scale. Sarada is fighting against threats like Hidari, somebody made up of Sasuke's chakra, and contributing against beings that are stated to scale above code, whether it's having the physical speed to react and dodge Hidari's point blank Chidori off guard, and then have enough power in her Chidori stream to force an off guard Hidari, to force an on guard Hidari to release his grip of her, or by Jura's own words, easily destroy Ryu when she awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan consciously. Though, as we saw, that warranty on that Mangekyo Sharingan tends to run out right when you least expect it. Yet, she never got promoted to Chunin, let alone Jonin. So why is she a Genin, you're asking? It's because the shinobi system hasn't caught up to Sarada, it hasn't acknowledged her. She's being punished for sticking up for Boruto and Sasuke after omnipotence took place, and she literally tells Shikamaru, I don't care if I'm going to be a Genin forever. I'll just skip ranks all the way to Hokage the way that Naruto did. Sarada spent 3 years going against the village, taking the unpopular stance to try to prove Boruto's innocence. When you really think about it, somebody like Sarada doesn't have to wait for a promotion. Sarada has been thrown into battles far beyond the rank structure that was was designed to measure the capacity of a shinobi. At this point, her ranking doesn't reflect her ability. It just reflects the outdated shinobi system. That's the whole reason why the Jonin in Volume 1 of Two Blue Vortex, they see her fight, and in the manga, they flat out call bullshit on the fact that Sarada is still listed as a Genin, and she has to remind them that ranking has nothing to do with power. And that lines up just given, look at what happened with Sasuke. Now, this is where it gets absolutely ridiculous. Sasuke technically qualifies more than I'd say anyone else on this list, just given the number of times he saved the world. He's second only to Naruto in that regard. Let that sink in. For almost 2 decades, he was one of the 2 strongest shinobi in the history of the ninja world. He never followed the traditional promotion path. Sasuke went from Genin to, oh, he's a rogue ninja. That's it. No Chunin, no Jonin, just straight to international criminal status. Even in Boruto, he's a rogue ninja. Now add in the scaling, he's somebody who was stated to be a direct rival to Naruto by the Boruto era. He fought multiple Otsutsuki level threats. He possessed the Rinnegan at one point. He could travel through dimensions. He is able to use the perfect Susanoo. Sasuke could wipe out the continent multiple times over. And yet on paper, he never climbed through the ranks. Why? Because the shinobi system itself doesn't promote enemies. Sasuke is technically not a Konoha shinobi. Sasuke is on probation at the discretion of the Hokage. People say, oh, he's the Shadow Hokage. That's not a real ranking. Sasuke spent most of his life being exactly just that. So instead of rising through the system, Sasuke has to exist outside of it. And that's very fitting, again, just given Sasuke's role in the story and what the duo of Kishimoto and Ikimoto have tried to say throughout the Naruto, Naruto Next Generations, and Boruto Two Blue Vortex story when it comes to rankings themselves. And there's no better example of this than Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto is the funniest and most iconic case on this list because Naruto was supposed to be a Jonin if you reference the anime-only filler scene that a lot of you guys are familiar with, that every time I say Naruto skipped to Hokage, everybody brings up this scene and it's time to just blow that whole thing up. That's one problem with that entire situation you have. It was a conditional promotion. Naruto had to study. Now, if you know Naruto, that was never happening. Yes, he said he would do the studying. But when it comes to Naruto and retaining information via books, that is a lost cause, which is why he himself states in the Boruto anime that he jumped from Genin to Hokage. That is why in the Naruto The Last Movie data book, it has him listed as a Genin. And Sarada outright states in the Two Blue Vortex manga that Naruto skipped ranks to become the Hokage. Let that sink in. Naruto went from Genin straight to Hokage. No Jonin title. Didn't even take the Chunin exams formally. That Konohamaru scene that you're probably going to type in the comment section, that's a non-canon OVA that was attached to the Blood Prison movie that came out in 2011, 3 years before the Naruto manga ever ended. Naruto just skipped the entire system, just like he told Ibiki in the Chunin exam's written exam. He said, hey, I don't care if I got to be a Genin for the rest of my life. I'm still going to become the Hokage. Talk about foreshadowing. Talk about delayed payoff. Meanwhile, this is somebody who defeated Pain, helped win the 4th Great Ninja War, fought Kaguya, fought Momoshiki and Kenshiki, fought against Ishiki, became the strongest shinobi in history until his son surpassed him. He saved the world more times than he has children. And the village still looked at him and said, yeah, but can you pass a written exam? Jonin promotion denied, and then eventually Naruto's like, hey bitch, I'm gonna become the Hokage. That's not just ironic, that's absolute comedy. Naruto didn't fail the system just couldn't process Naruto Uzumaki, the #1 hyperactive knuckleheaded ninja. Very fitting. And now brings me to Obito Uchiha. Now, Obito might be the biggest glow-up in Naruto history outside of the Team 7 that you're thinking about. From struggling Genin to a man who nearly ended the world. As the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, Obito, you could argue, even surpassed Hashirama. Hashirama, at his peak, that scaling gets a little wonky. Personally, I got those two relative. I still put Ten-Tails Obito a little above Hashirama, but that's another video for another day. But here's the thing. Obito fought against entire armies. He overwhelmed Naruto and Sasuke to a degree. He controlled control global events from the shadows, and yet he never made it past Chunin. Why? Because everything that made him powerful happened outside the system. Madara didn't train him to become a shinobi. He trained him to break the world as a rogue ninja. And once Obito stepped into that role, that promotion stopped mattering. The only thing that mattered was creating the infinite Tsukiyomi so he could create that world where Rin existed again. And as we saw in the Fourth Great Ninja War, even before he became the Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki, Obito's power level was way above Jonin level. And speaking about being way above Jonin level, we gotta talk about Himawari Uzumaki, Naruto's baby girl. Himawari might be the scariest Genin on this list because her ceiling, we haven't seen it yet. She has the Byakugan, she has the Uzumaki clan life force, she has the Kekkei Genkai of the Hyuga clan, the Byakugan. I just said that, Jesus Christ. But she also has perfect chakra control, and now she has Kurama. And here's the twist, her compatibility with Kurama is even higher than Naruto's. As Kurama and as Jura stated, she is something above a Jinchuriki and closer to a tailed beast itself. She can use tailed beast bombs instinctually. She can regenerate very quickly. She can also heal others, and she's able to fight beings like Jura briefly, even though that was a suppressed Jura. That is why Damon, somebody stronger than Code, as soon as he sensed the hidden power inside of her, he got extremely excited. He wanted to fight her, and that tells you everything. Damon was never excited to fight anyone else in the village. If he would have ran into Naruto and Sasuke, he would have beat them into submission. And yet, Himawari is still a Genin in terms of her ranking, not because she lacks power, but because she's quite literally just getting started. She quite literally just became a shinobi, and that makes her terrifying because she's gonna rise up the ranks as she gets more training under Kurama. And speaking of rising through the ranks, this next person is another one that has suffered a lot, Itachi Uchiha. Itachi is what happens when a prodigy breaks the timeline when you think about it. He graduated early. He became a Chunin at a young age. He joined the Anbu at 12. He was capable of fighting KCM1 Naruto and matching blows with him. Even as sick Itachi on his deathbed, by Sasuke's own words in the Naruto Jinraiden story, The Day That the Wolf Howled, Sasuke, who had the Mangekyo Sharingan, so this is 5 Kage Summit era Sasuke, was still weaker than the brother that Sasuke just fought. And we know from the 4th data book that Edo Tensei Itachi, brought back at near full power, was an equal to EMS Sasuke in power. Think about that for a second, how insanely powerful that is, and realize the fact that Itachi has a rank lower than Neji. Talk about criminal. No Jonin promotion. Instead of climbing through the ranks, he became something entirely different. He became a shadow operative. He became a double agent. A man that was playing chess with the entire shinobi world, with abilities like Tsukiyomi and Amaterasu and a Susanoo that has the Tosca blade and the Yata mirror. That ain't a Jonin level fighter. That's just somebody beyond classification. The shinobi system didn't promote Itachi, but instead it utilized him like a tool. But it also failed him, just like how it failed Kabuto Yakushi. So Kabuto is one of the most underrated monsters in Naruto. Originally, he was compared by Orochimaru to Kakashi in Part 1, and then he evolved over time. He took in Orochimaru's DNA, he took in the DNA of the Sound 5, he got Sage Mode, he got abilities from multiple shinobi as a result. By the war, he's fighting both Itachi and Sasuke at once, and he's holding his own. He even claims to be the closest thing to the Sage of Six Paths. Absolutely delusional, yes, but the man knew the assignment: be your own hype man at all costs. And honestly, that's not crazy as it sounds. So why is he still a Genin? Well, it's because Kabuto never truly belonged to any village itself. No allegiance, no structure, no system means no promotion. He was purposely pulling himself out of the Chunin exams to restrain his own bloodlust. In the Hidden Sound Village, at least in the manga, he never had a ninja ranking. Kabuto was somebody extremely powerful, yet he never became a Jonin. Just as Team 4-Star used to say power levels are bullshit, well, ninja rankings are too when you consider everyone on this list, especially this next guy, pun intended, might die. Might Dai is a mighty fine guy. The most important name on this list in my opinion. Might Dai represents something different. He wasn't a prodigy, he wasn't a genius, he wasn't blessed with insane talent. He was still a Genin for his entire life. He was mocked, he was ignored, he was disrespected until the day he opened up all 8 gates. And then that became something differently entirely altogether because he took the heads off of multiple 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. He sacrificed everything, and that was something that definitely changed history because of what it meant for his son Might Guy. That would be a moment that imprinted onto Guy, and Guy would go on to fight against Madara. So why was he never promoted? Why was Might Dai still a Genin? Well, it's because of politics at the time. It's because of bias, because of how the ninja village was at the time. It was a system that judged him before he could truly prove himself. It's a system that judged him because he couldn't use any ninjutsu. And by the time that he did, well, it was just a little bit too late. At the end of the day, what this list should show you is something that Naruto's story never says outright, but it's always there. That ranking system is flawed because power doesn't always follow structure. And some shinobi, they grow beyond what the system was designed to measure. Genin, Chunin, Jonin, even Kage. Those are titles that are supposed to mean something. But when you look at this list, they start to feel a little bit meaningless because when Genin can fight against gods, what exactly does a Jonin even mean anymore? Now for the bonus edition, we have Mitsuki. When you really think about it, the son of Orochimaru not being a Jonin feels like it's personal. Like someone who decides promotions is holding it against Mitsuki that his father is a former Akatsuki member who killed the 3rd Hokage. Mitsuki, from a raw power perspective, is absolutely insane. He's already mastered more than enough chakra natures to be a Jonin. With him having mastery of wind release, water release, and lightning release, he also has access to Sage Mode, which in the manga continuity of the story, there is no issue of his body breaking down when he uses it. And the boost that he gets when using Sage Mode is pretty impressive. And just being honest, looking at Mitsuki in Boruto Part 1, he was already stronger than most Jonin in the series, if we're being honest. And by the series, I mean the entire Naruto franchise, not just talking about Boruto. At the end of Boruto Part 1, he was able to force base Boruto onto a defensive, and the attacks were crafty and sneaky enough that Mitsuki had to warn Boruto when the attacks were coming because Boruto couldn't sense or see them fast enough at the time. After 3 years of Mitsuki training with the sole intention of getting to Otsutsuki levels of power and being strong enough to kill Boruto, who due to omnipotence, Mitsuki's memories of Boruto and Kawaki have been swapped, Mitsuki has gotten considerably stronger. How much stronger? Well, he's strong enough that when using Sage Mode, there's some uncomfortable conversations have to be made in the fandom. Like in Chapter 7, when he fights a suppressed Boruto, who at this point in the story is stronger than Jigen, who beat Naruto and Sasuke in 5 collective hits in Boruto's manga. Mitsuki outright states that Kawaki, who is 100% Otsutsuki at this point, stands no chance against Boruto based on what Mitsuki's seen from his power, and when Boruto tells him if Kawaki stands no chance against him, then Mitsuki wouldn't either, Mitsuki's remark is telling. He says that with Kawaki not there on the battlefield, he can finally use full power, which is implying that he's stronger than Kawaki, which is a massive improvement over 3 years, and his actions in the fight are impressive when you look at it. He makes 6 snake shadow clones that are using Sage Mode to attack Boruto, and is able to force Boruto to use purple lightning multiple times during that fight, running it through his sword to take down the clones, and even forcing Boruto to use his thunderclap arrow to cancel out Mitsuki's lightning release jutsu. But ultimately, Boruto proves shortly afterwards that even while suppressed, he held the upper hand to the point he never needed to use Flying Raijin after Boruto initially used it to get space between himself and Mitsuki. He's clearly not in the same tier as base Boruto, but he did fight relatively decent against a suppressed base Boruto and forced him to use more ninjutsu than Boruto had previously used in the fights prior to this, and this same suppressed Boruto was able to punch Kawaki so hard that Kawaki measured that power as being high enough he needed to go into version 1 of Koma when he decided to fight back. Later on against Ryu in chapter 19 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, we we see that Mitsuki's Sage Mode was strong enough to do relatively well against Ryu, a Shinju who easily made a fool of base Code, and Jura confirmed that Ryu was capable of killing Code since he gave him permission to kill Code the next time he saw him. Mitsuki's Sage Mode long distance attacks were fast enough to get the drop on Ryu, and the damage was enough that Ryu was intentionally breaking up his body using the Iron Sand to avoid taking full-on attacks from both Mitsuki as well as some Sword or Chidori. But in chapter 20, when Mitsuki continues battling Ryu, at one point having Ryu actively dodge his attacks, Ryu has to use one of Mitsuki's comrades as a human shield to avoid being hit and to force Mitsuki into a situation where Mitsuki can land a strike hard enough that it knocks Mitsuki completely out of Sage Mode. While there hasn't been a ton for Mitsuki and Tubu Vortex so far, with both his primary battles coming against a suppressed base Boruto and a semi-serious Ryu, there is enough to make it plainly obvious that Orochimaru's claim that Mitsuki in the one-shot manga chapter was not a lie, which was that Mitsuki back then using Sage Mode was stronger than adult Boruto era Orochimaru, and in Boruto Tubu Vortex, the clone of Orochimaru is reaching levels of power that makes him not being a Jonin absolutely criminal. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, click here on the left to check out more Naruto Explained videos, or click here on the right to check out this video that YouTube says that you would definitely enjoy.